Hi everybody, this is Father Warner D'Souza. We are here in Malad East in the parish of St. Jude, and we are reflecting on the Thursday of the 6th week of Easter. We're looking at Acts chapter 18 verse 1 to 8. As you know, Paul arrived in the Greek city of Corinth after a rather lukewarm response in Athens. It is here in verse 11 that he will spend the next 1.5 years ministering to the Corinthians. Sometimes the ministry of a year and a half spans just 17 verses as it does in this chapter, and hence we look at 1 Corinthians chapter 1 verses 10 to 18 to understand really the challenges that this mission field faced. Paul is joined by his companions Silas and Timothy, who have joined him after the persecutions broke out in Beroea. His mission is also greatly strengthened by his acquaintance with a couple who have had to flee Rome due to the expulsion of the Jews by the Emperor Claudius. Aquila and his wife Priscilla will then go on not only to become Paul's business partners, for they shared the same trade of making tents, as we can see in verse 3, but will also become his lifelong friends. We see that Paul sends his regards to this couple in 2 different letters that he will later write. Paul's trade is not to be trivialized as some childish pastime. Tents were important to those who lived in this part of the world, and one can safely say that Paul was, in that sense, the real estate business. In another letter, he will use the analogy of trading in a tent for a permanent structure in reference to the reality of death. However, Paul's trade does not distract him from his principal mission, and that is to proclaim the word of God, which we read in verse 5, a task that mostly met with stiff opposition or complete indifference. The Corinthian community was a challenge for Paul both internally and externally. As we will read, the external challenges were predictable: persecution, accusations, beating, and false trials. But from 1 Corinthians, we also know that on departing Corinth, the community began to greatly disagree with one another on practically every issue, from baptism to leadership. What stands out in the second missionary journey of Paul, which sees him travel largely through Greece, is his resilience in never accepting defeat. His mission is no peaches and roses, and yet Paul never gives up. When the doors of the synagogue were closed to him in Corinth, he simply went next door, in this case literally. An official of the synagogue who lived next door to the synagogue and was a believer in the Lord now receives baptism with his entire household. Paul did not suffer fools easily, yet he exercised great love and restraint when it came to mission. For this cause, he willingly bore much. For those involved in ministry in the church, the example of Paul shines forth. We will not always have a perfect parish, a perfect association, or perfect collaborators. Many within our own institutions may betray us or be downright jealous of what we do. In moments like this, I want you to remember Paul. He fixed his eyes on Jesus. I want to share a personal example. Many years ago, when I was struggling with a rather difficult priest, I was presented with this thought by the Lord: whose eyes are your eyes fixed on? The troublesome priest or on me, Jesus? The course correction began being made in my life. I resolved the pain and hurt even though the problem persisted. Being a Christian does not mean your problems disappear. Remember that. Being a Christian means you can cast your burdens on Christ, who died to set us free. I want to thank you for listening to these videos, and I would like to encourage you, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, perhaps this must be the first time you're viewing us, if you would, please subscribe to this channel, share this with your friends. Also, if you like the text version of these reflections, you could go to my blog. It's called pottypadre.com. That's POTTYPADRE.com. Thank you, everybody, and God bless you. Have a lovely day.